Yes.
TFL Classics. So thanks for joining me. All the boys
Yeah.
are out. Tommy's driving the new Lexus Electric.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah.
Well,
He's
speaking of electric, we've got an electric car on TFL bids right now that is coming to an end very soon. We've only got 30 minutes left on our very own TFL owned Mini Cooper SE.
yeah. There was just a survey out, and it asked people what electric cars were the most satisfying to own. Guess which car was the most satisfying to own, the most enjoyable, the most likely to buy again.
Wow. Me being a Mini lover, it has to be that one,
It
right?
was, yeah. It was the
Oh,
Mini
is it?
S. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. People really love their Mini SEs.
Yeah, I don't blame them. Unlike a lot of other electric cars, they just really feel special on the inside. It seems like they've really put a lot into designing the interior of it and making it like a really premium vehicle.
Yeah, we bought that car like 2 years ago, and then we cross-countryed it. We bought it in Albuquerque, and as you know, we buy cars, keep them for a year, and then move them on. And that one we bought because we wanted to see what it was like to live with an electric car. Of course, the Achilles heel of that is it only has like 114 miles of range,
Yeah,
but as a city car, it's plenty.
absolutely.
So if you're not cross-countrying it, you know, if you're just charging it up at home, going to work, going to school, wherever, it's really good. And the one that we have has that really cool tricolor roof. So
Yes,
Mini's
I
the only
love
one who
that.
can do that, right? They have a robot that sprays. I think it's black, light blue, and dark blue on top, and it's really cool. It's really unique.
Yeah, I think it's a really unique design, and if you click over on the pictures over on TFLbids.com, you'll see that it is that tricolor roof, which I was told by Tommy that it's actually really, really expensive for Mini to do that. So it's kind of cool that they went ahead and did it.
Yeah, I think they're the only ones who are doing it.
Yeah.
And then it's got this really cool interior. It's kind of like a houndstooth almost, you know.
Yeah.
Heated seats, heated steering wheel. It's got it all. What are we up to on that?
So we're up to 22,100. So we're not quite to the reserve yet, but we're getting close. So if a few of you hop on there and place some bids, one of you might end up taking that bad boy home.
Yeah, if you wanted to buy that new, it would be $36,000 if you can get one. And unfortunately, it doesn't qualify for the $7,500 tax rebate because it's not built in America. It's built. I was actually at the factory where they built it. It's built in Oxford. No, not Oxford. It's a building, Cambridge. No, Cambridge. It was one of those cities in England that's a college town.
Yeah, across the
What are the other
pond
ones?
there.
Oxford,
I don't
Cambridge.
know.
I think it might be Oxford.
Okay, we'll
Yeah.
go with it.
Yeah.
But in talking about this, so that is a car that is really good for city living, right? If you have an electric car and you're driving around the city. So we wanted to think, what is the best cities that you could live in and own an electric vehicle? And we've got a really cool, thanks to iSeeCars.com list here of some of the most EV-friendly cities as well as the least EV-friendly cities. And so I would say coming in at number 10 is Seattle, Tacoma, Washington as one of the most EV-friendly cities.
Yeah, I could see that. People on that north west corner of this, you know, are very ecologically minded, so I could see why that would be. Plus, it rains all the time, so
Yeah.
I'm joking. Summers are beautiful.
Yeah.
What's number 9?
Number 9 would be Baltimore, Maryland, which actually,
Surprise, surprise,
yeah,
yeah.
that surprises me quite a
Do
bit.
you
to
know
be
what they
honest.
use here? Can you read through it quickly? What they use to determine this number? Did they do it based on number of chargers, based on number of cars, based on the number of EA stations that are actually functioning at any given time?
So it says here that IC Cars analyzed the national EV charging infrastructure to determine which cities and states offer the best and worst electric vehicle charging support for EV owners looking to plug in to public chargers. So they're going mostly based off of, like, I'm guessing it looks like the analysis looked at both level 2 and level 3 chargers, and also evaluates like the Tesla and non-Tesla networks separately to see where cities and states rank based on how many residents each EV charging station must potentially serve.
I was just on a program and I was talking to a Canadian journalist and he was telling me that Ontario, Canada is super easy to live with an electric car. I guess the government has spent a lot of money building out the electric grid. And you know, while we're talking about this, I think we've come to a tipping point now where there's enough cars out there and not enough stations that actually work, that if a manufacturer doesn't want to end up a year from now with just rows and rows of electric cars sitting on their lots, they're actually going to have to start to build out their own infrastructure, because let's face it, the current infrastructure is not working. And you know, I like our friends at Electrify America, but it's not just them. You know, it's become somehow very difficult to build electric stations that either are easy to use, that are intuitive, they're up and running all the time, and the only one who's managed to do that is Tesla, and
Yeah.
they're going to reap the rewards. So I would throw it out there to you manufacturers. Initially, I used to say, if you wanted like a head start and you wanted to be successful for the next 20 years, go out and spend the money like Tesla and build out your own infrastructure. At this point, I'm going to say it's going to depend on your livelihood, because I think people are getting so frustrated at how difficult it can be to charge. And there's a whole bunch of reasons for that, right? One of the reasons is the manufacturers. When a manufacturer like Volkswagen gives out just free charging,
Right.
then all of a sudden you end up with a lot of chargers that people would normally use maybe for road tripping being clogged with Volkswagen ID4s, because, and I do the same thing, I'm not dissing the people,
Sure.
but it's a problem they're all making to some extent.
Well, and the other thing that I've seen too with a lot of the videos you guys have done is a lot of them are based in like Walmart parking lots, which if you ever hung out at a Walmart, you know, it's fine once or twice, but if you're having to constantly go to Walmart to charge your vehicle, I think that can be a little bit draining. I think it might be nice to have it somewhere like by a nice park, or even like
Well,
by a trailhead,
so-
so that way you can go do something while your vehicle's charging.
So, I mean, there are level 2 chargers that Rivian's building out and Jeep's building out at trailheads, but that's not going to get you, you know, to
Yeah.
work. What
Right.
they do in Europe is they build these like really cool charging, let's call them not coffee shops, but like almost centers where they have 30 or 40 chargers, right? Where there's a lot of food and drink and help, actually. If you're having a trouble charging a car, there's people like in yellow vests who walk around and help you. And there's workspaces there where you can go work. Just imagine that. And you know, for us, the closest we get to it with a lot of our stations is, you know, going to sit at the McDonald's at the Walmart, which is not, you know, a place that's conducive to doing work.
Now, I have some interesting questions here in the chat. So Bob Hodgkin, I hope I'm saying that right, is asking, why is Honda so late to the EV market?
I could ask the same thing about Toyota.
Yeah, that's true, actually.
Yeah, I think the Japanese doubled down. Actually, this is an interesting fact. People think the Prius was here first, but the Honda Insight was first. So I think the Japanese automakers doubled and tripled down on hybrids. And so when this new EV world came around, they were like, hey, we've got the perfect solution. You know, it lets you fill up with gas and it lets you get the benefits of electrification. So we're going to go with hybrids. And then unfortunately, people have decided that, well, for a lot of people, that hybrids are great, but they're just an interim step before full-on electrification. And I think
Right.
Tesla pushed that narrative.
Yeah. So getting back to the list, we've already talked about number 10 being Seattle and number 9 being Baltimore. But number 8 on the most EV-friendly cities is Boston, Massachusetts, which honestly also surprises me. I didn't expect there to be 2 East Coast cities on this list.
Yeah, that's a surprise to me too. I know they're always doing road construction there, so maybe while they're tearing up the roads, they're laying the cables for electrification.
Yep. And then moving on to number 7, I think we're going to have a few in California, but the first one here is Sacramento, Stockton, and Modesto's kind of that whole suburban area.
Yeah, I bet you the closer you get to like San Francisco, the more, because that obviously used to be the home of Tesla.
Yeah.
Well, it still is a home, but they moved to Texas. But I think that's kind of the hub of electric vehicle production in America, and of course Tesla. So that's kind of where it all started.
And I would say number 6 is probably my biggest surprise. Kansas City, Missouri is the number 6 most EV-friendly city. I did not expect that at all.
Yeah, I would have thought that would be more like barbecue friendly, but
It is barbecue friendly too, so quite a city you got there. You're EV friendly and barbecue
you can
friendly.
go get yourself some BBQ and charge up your car while you're doing it.
Right? Moving on to number 5 is Fresno, California. Another
Once again,
kind of
close to
Yep.
San Francisco.
kind of inching in there.
Yeah.
And then number 4 is our very own Denver, Colorado. So yeah, we live in a pretty EV-friendly area.
Yeah, we do. For whatever reason, Coloradoans are very environmentally minded, probably because we spend a lot of time in the mountains. And so I think the closer you are probably to like the environment, the more you want to protect it. That would be my guess.
Yeah, and I think the top 3 on this list is probably going to surprise very few. But
go for it.
number 3 is Los Angeles, California. Not number 1, but number 3 on
That
the
might have to
list.
do with smog, huh?
You think so?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Or
Well, yeah.
coolness, right? For a long time, like if you didn't own a Tesla, you weren't one of the cool kids.
That's
And LA
true.
is driven a lot by being one of the cool kids.
I remember back when I was young that it was cool to own a Prius. I think there were celebrities showing up to even red carpet events. Before electric cars were a big thing, they were showing up in Priuses.
Dang.
I just thought that was so interesting. Anyways, moving on to number 2, a very close neighbor to Los Angeles is San Diego, California.
Yeah, yeah, beautiful. That's where Tommy's at right now, driving, like I said, that new electric Lexus, so that makes sense.
Well, he'll have plenty of places to charge it,
It's
it
also,
sounds like.
it's also, much easier to have an electric car where it's warm. So a lot of these cities are pretty warm. And I'm going to guess that the number one's going to be San Jose, right?
It's San Francisco,
Oh,
San Jose.
yeah.
Yeah, pretty much that whole area, and I think that is, yeah, not surprising at all. I've been there a few times myself, and there are not only a lot of electric charging stations, there are just a lot of
You know what would be
electric cars
surprising?
out there. What's that?
If it were Detroit, that would be surprising.
That would be really surprising. Oh, man. All right, so we do also have the 10 least friendly EV cities, but before we move in on that, I'm going to check in on the car that we are auctioning over at TFLbids.com, and that is our very own Mini Cooper SE electric vehicle. As Roman was saying earlier, if you wanted to buy one of these things new, you'd be spending upwards of over $30,000. Ours you can get for significantly less. The current bid, high bid on it is $22,100.
You know what I would do? Let me just see what it's worth.
Okay.
I don't know what it's worth, but I go to KBB, right? They
Sure.
take sales. KBB, Blue Book, takes my car's value. They take make, model. They take 2020. What year is it? 2021?
2022, actually.
2022 make, Mini. They take sales records, and they can kind of give you a realistic idea of what these cars are selling for.
Yeah, and this one only has about 14,000 miles on it, so it's practically a new car. I've driven it a few times myself, and
How many miles?
A little over 14,000.
14,000.
Yep, and it drives like a brand new car. This thing is nice, and not only that, it actually comes with 2 sets of wheels, right? Because you guys put some more like all-season or all-terrain
Yeah, we
type
got all-weather
tires,
tires on
or
it.
all-weather tires on it, as well as the original wheels and tires that come with it on there too. So, yeah, you're getting even more than you would get if you were to go buy a
I'm going to select
brand
my
new
own options here. Steering, packages, driver's assistant, electric collection, signature plus, I think it has that. Exterior, parking assist, I think it does have that. Interior, it doesn't have the heads-up display. Alarm system, active cruise control, I think it does have. And let's see here, with premium wheels.
I like this comment. Someone said, in Kansas City, we need to electrify the barbecue scene. Yeah, I think that would actually be pretty cool if you go find some of those good barbecue spots. I actually just drove through Kansas City and we ate at Joe's, the barbecue spot in a gas station. And yeah, that would be kind of cool actually if they had some electric chargers there so you can go in and enjoy some good barbecue while charging your car.
All right, so private party value is 32,000.
Wow.
So we are 10,000 under private party value.
Yeah, right now.
And let's see what trade-in is. So it does have a reserve. Trade-in is 29,000. Electric cars are really popular right now. So unfortunately, unless those bids come up, I don't think 22 is going to buy it.
Yeah, but we're not super far off. I think, you guys have a really conservative number on this as far as a reserve. I don't want to reveal that just yet, but if you guys bid on this thing, this is probably the least expensive way that you can get into a really special mini electric vehicle. So head on over to TFLbids.com
and we also
bid away.
we also take care of our cars. People
Yeah.
think that somehow we abuse them. No, there are YouTubers out there who definitely abuse them. I'm talking to you, Strand Man. I'm talking to you, Whistling Diesel. But we buy them and we maintain them. We make sure that they get all their scheduled maintenance. That car has no accidents, no dings, no nothing. It's pristine.
Yeah, it's really nice. So again, check it out, TFLbids.com. But we're going to move on to the list of we've already talked about the most EV-friendly cities, but this is the list of the least EV-friendly cities. Coming in at number 10, and I think this will again surprise not a lot of people, but Dallas, Texas is one of the least EV-friendly cities.
Yeah, probably places where oil is king.
Yeah, yep.
I can see very few incentives to have electric cars where the oil industry is based, or at least certainly has a large presence.
Yep. And so number 9 is Greensboro, Winston-Salem, North Carolina.
Yeah, I've never been there.
Yeah, I've never been there
I heard
either.
it's beautiful though.
Yeah, that's what I hear. I think I have a family member that just moved out there recently, and they say it's nice, but not if you have an EV. And number 8 would be another Texas state or another Texas city, Houston, Texas, being one of the
Same
least.
issue. Yeah. And number 7 I see is Milwaukee.
Milwaukee,
You still live in Wisconsin, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they're not really an oil town.
They're a cheese town.
Yeah, they're more about their cheese and brats.
If we could power cars by cheese, that would be number 1 on the list.
Absolutely, yeah. I think
For most friendly.
most people in Milwaukee love their PBR and their cheese and their brats and their baseball, and they're not worried about new cars or charging, or it's a very old city. It's one of those cities you can go to where everything feels like it was updated like 30 years ago.
Okay. Like I said, I used to live in Janesville, Wisconsin, so I'm
Yep.
pretty familiar with my friends down in southern Wisconsin. It's a beautiful area, incredible
is.
farms, and yeah, great brats and really good fish fries.
Yeah,
If you
that's
love
true.
fish Fridays, oh my
Yeah.
God, yeah.
So moving on to number 6 on the least EV-friendly cities is Louisville, Kentucky. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Louisville's got a funky been there a bunch, got a funky downtown. It's kind of one of these big small towns or small big towns, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like Denver where there's some like cities like New York, obviously, LA, well, maybe not LA, certainly New York that have like this vibrant downtown. Louisville feels like it's one of those downtowns where people go to like either art or work or, you know, restaurants, but I'm not sure there's like this vibrancy where a lot of people live. You wouldn't compare it to like Brooklyn or Manhattan by any means.
Yeah, I completely agree. Yeah, I'm getting some comments here that some people thought that Houston would have been in that number 1 spot as one of the least EV-friendly cities, but they're not. We haven't talked about the number 1 city yet. Yeah, so moving on to number 5 of the least EV-friendly cities would be Cleveland or Akron, Ohio.
Interesting.
Yeah,
I don't know why.
part of the Rust Belt there,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I don't know. It seems like it's either an oil town or a very cold town. Doesn't have charging stations
Maybe they're
for
mad
some
that
reason.
a lot of the steel is no longer manufactured in America, which
Maybe.
it isn't. It's coming back, I think, but most of our steel production went offshore, unfortunately, which is discouraging,
Yeah.
especially now.
And then moving on to number 4 of the least EV-friendly cities is San Antonio, Texas.
I love San Antonio. Riverwalk, oh my God, I love that.
I think
What a great town.
I prefer Austin myself because I love the music scene. It's just about an hour down the road from San Antonio, but San Antonio still is pretty cool town, but apparently needs some more EV charging stations.
Beautiful zoo too.
Yeah.
Serious. That's where I always go film. Love the zoo there.
Do you? Nice.
Yeah.
So moving on to number 3 of the least EV-friendly cities is Indianapolis, Indiana. Again, another Midwestern cold town.
Don't know much about Indianapolis except for the arch, so throw in some chargers by the arch, please.
Well, I know that they allowed us to have Peyton Manning as far as...
I'm sorry, that's St. Louis.
Yeah.
That's not Indianapolis.
Yeah, Indianapolis allowed us to have Peyton Manning, so thank you,
I should know that.
Indianapolis.
It's Indy 500. I used to go down there all the time with my dad.
Yeah, they got... Isn't that the nation's second oldest race? Or
It's
is it
the
the
nation's
oldest?
oldest.
It's the oldest race, that's
Yeah,
right.
Pikes Peak is the
Pikes
second-
Peak
is the
is the
second
second oldest. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How long
so-
do you think before there'll be electric cars racing at the Indy 500? You think it's
Oh my
5 years away,
gosh.
10 years away, or never? What do you guys
Well,
think?
yeah, I think that is a good question.
I'll say
I
5
don't-
years.
You think that soon?
Yeah.
Because here's the issue: is are you going to, when the car runs out of juice and you're doing, isn't it the whole point of Indy 500 is you're going 500 miles, right?
Could swap batteries.
You could swap batteries. Do you think they'll just build
There'll
it
be-
so that it's easy to drop the battery pack out?
There'll be
and
some
pop in a new one?
manufacturer who'll push electric cars, and there'll be somebody who'll be like, I think this can be an interesting race
Yeah.
with electric cars. I think it would be cool. I'd watch it. Why
Yeah?
not? Yeah.
Would you?
I'm
would
kind
you?
of actually I'm kind of bored of Indy because let's face it, the whole IndyCar thing is now taking a big, long back seat to Formula One.
Oh yeah.
You know, because Formula One with that Netflix series has just exploded,
It
and so
has.
IndyCar has always been kind of in the shadow of Formula One. So maybe they need to do something to shake it up a little bit. I'm sure all the people out there, oh no, God, no, not that, not electric Indy cars, how horrible. I'm like, why not? Maybe try hydrogen. How about hydrogen Indy cars? Wouldn't that be cool?
That
And
would
when
be
they-
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when they crash, ooh,
Oh,
that'd be
gosh.
quite the spectacle.
Well, yeah, Frank says that there will never be an electric Indy 500. So,
Yeah. Yeah, Frank. You betcha.
I actually think would that be interesting if you had to, or would it be terrible if you had to like factor in charging your car at the Indy 500 to be able to get
you know what I don't
500
understand?
miles?
There's like this complete disconnect. I'm not going to get into politics here, but this is an economic disconnect that somehow makes no sense. And I think the reason it makes no sense is because people aren't thinking with their head, but they're thinking with their politics. So let me ask you this. Everybody hates electric trucks, right? All of our viewers are like, oh God, I'll never buy an electric truck. You can take that diesel, from my cold, dead hands, right? And, electric trucks and cars will never be a thing. This is never going to happen. And yet Tesla has something like 500,000 reservations
That
for the
many?
Cybertruck. Yeah, that's
Holy
what last
cow.
time, I think it was 400,000. Ford has 150 for the Lightning. Rivian, if you want a Rivian, get in line. So the disconnect there is, if everybody hates electric trucks, right? Why are all these manufacturers like 15 years behind in production in terms of reservation? Is there somebody like some we can go into conspiracy theories. Maybe there's some green group that has hacked the Tesla.
Yeah. Well, I think
Dude,
just like anything, isn't there just like a lack of components out there, like
So here's
raw
what it is.
materials?
What's happening is that the reality of what's going on in YouTube has gotten out of control. I'll give you an example, all right? I was just watching a video that Ben Hardy did, and I know Ben, right? And Ben Hardy went on a car lot, I think it was when it was closed, and he drove around, and he saw a lot of Lightning sitting there parked in the lot that weren't sold. That's what he said. And then he saw a lot of Mach-E's as well, right? And he's like, the headline was some clickbaity thing like electric trucks are dead. And people watch that video and they're like, oh my God, right, there's all these, I don't believe Ford, why are there all these electric trucks? So same video, Wall Street Journal, right? The reporter went to the lot like 6 months ago, bone stock, empty, not a thing on that lot, completely like you could have raced cars, could have had an Indy race on that lot.
Sure.
All headlights. Came back full of vehicles. He's walking around with the owner of the dealership, and the owner's saying, yeah, I've got 150 cars on the lot. But get this, all but 6 are pre-sold.
Wow.
He had 6 out of the 150 vehicles. It's a Toyota dealership, all but 6.
That's crazy.
So do you see the problem there, right? So
Yeah.
yes, Ben, just because the vehicles are on the lot doesn't mean that you can go buy one. And that is, the problem with YouTube, right? That is a problem when you have journalism versus whatever, a lot of people are doing out there. Guessing, influencing, I don't know. But the Wall Street Journal, yes, talk to the owner. All of them are on the lot, but only 6 are for sale.
So O asked the question too, or pined the thought that maybe it's because of a lot of YouTube and TikTokers talking about lithium fires, or I'm guessing they're just talking about fires being caught on the cars after they're crashed. I know I heard that story a few months ago. Is that something that's also being overblown
Here's a
too?
story nobody will ever click on, right?
Yeah.
Right? Here's the headline, owners buy Teslas and it never catches on fire, right? Who's gonna click on that? But, right, owner buys Tesla and burns house to the ground, that gets all kinds of views and all kinds of clicks, which is of course, unfortunately the way that our YouTube ecosystem works right now. And as an old-time journalist, it's very frustrating because I was taught that you basically, come up with headlines that are straightforward and tell the story. But when you have a headline that's straightforward and tells a story, Teslas don't burn to the ground versus Tesla burns house to the ground, which may be true.
Right.
But that doesn't mean that every Tesla is burning every house to the ground. It's just hard to compete on that level.
It's just the ones you hear about.
Yep,
So
keep going.
So moving on to the lists, back to the list rather. So we were talking about least EV-friendly cities, and we left out number 1 and number 2. So going to number 2 is Birmingham in Alabama. So if you're in Birmingham, Alabama, you have one of the worst cities as far as EV charging
Beautiful
goes.
town.
Yeah. And number 1 is St. Louis, Missouri, which actually I recently found out.
You should put
You did, yeah.
Put the chargers to the arch.
Yeah, I guess St. Louis needs some charging stations, and I think the interesting thing is you do have that arch there, and again going back to, wouldn't it be nice if you have these big attractions that you can go to and they have a line of charging stations right by them. So going up in the arch takes about a half hour. It would be nice to be able to just pull up your car, plug it into a fast charger, go check out the arch, come down. By the time you come back, it's fully charged. I think that would make living with an EV vehicle so much more convenient if something like that was possible.
Yeah, like I said, it's getting to the point where the infrastructure either needs to get remarkably better, or what's going to end up happening is people are going to buy EVs, they're going to try to live with them, they're going to try to road trip them, and they're going to go back to, and I'm not saying that's bad, maybe that's where it ends up, but if manufacturers have put so much time, effort, and money behind building EVs, then it's going to cause a lot of people to be unemployed if all of a sudden owners are finding that they can't live with them because of the lack of infrastructure. If you can charge it at home, it's fine, right? You're never going to have a problem, but a lot of people can't. A lot of people are in apartments, or a lot of people don't have access to level 2 chargers, and they rely on public charging. And right now, our public charging is a train wreck.
Yeah. Well, and if you are tuning in and you are looking for an electric vehicle to own for yourself, head on over to TFLbids.com, because we are auctioning off our very own 2022 Mini Cooper SE electric vehicle, and there is only about 5 minutes left on it. Bidding is currently at $22,100. Not quite enough to get it across the finish line, but we are super close. So if you want a cool electric Mini Cooper, now is the time to head on over to TFLbids.com and get your bids in.
It's well maintained too.
Exactly, yeah.
So now that I've done ranting, what are people?
Let's see. So someone says Birmingham, Alabama. I'm going to buy an EV and paint Leonard Skinner logos on it.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Freebird, man, Freebird.
Kawasaki Ninja says shout outs to the South and Midwest. Here's a good question. Someone asked, do you think it's possible to fit road trip range into a compact EV? And I guess the question would be is, what is road trip range? But
oh yeah, sure, it's possible if you take out the airbags and all the safety,
yeah, all the storage in the back,
all the safety equipment.
Yeah.
I mean, you take that. We have that Hummer EV. It's got a 212 kilowatt-hour battery. You slam that into the Bolt, and you're going to have 1,000 miles of range.
Oh my gosh.
May become a 2-seater.
Yeah.
Right, but it may weigh 6,000 pounds.
Gosh,
yeah.
where would they even fit all those batteries into the Bolt? That'd be crazy.
Yeah, you're going to need much stiffer springs. Look, I think battery technology will improve the density, but it's actually going the other way. Now we're switching to a different compound, which is less energy dense, but more stable. So a lot of the manufacturers out there right now, the current thinking is, people don't need more than, let's say, 250 miles of range, because it also becomes counterproductive, right? The more battery you put into something, the heavier it is, the worse the efficiency becomes. So at some point, it just becomes silly. But yeah, I mean, if you want a Lucid and you've got $160,000 to spend, you can get 500 miles of range today.
Yeah, and I'm getting some comments that our audio is out of sync with the video, so I apologize, guys. We are doing this live, so sometimes things get caught up in a little bit of a hiccups, but I do apologize about that, guys. And another question here is, do you think a company will try to achieve 2,000 miles of range or fast charging first? I guess they're asking, are they going to be, which one's going to happen first? You're going to have a 2,000 mile range car, or are you going to have a big infrastructure of fast chargers built out?
I think EVs are like real estate, where it's all about location, location, location. With EVs, it's all about range, range, range. The problem with fast charging at that rate is it creates a lot of heat, and it's hard to dissipate. I mean, unless you have like a water or some kind of cooled handle, you will melt the cord going into the car. So I think range will be easier to accomplish than. And I don't know if you need that, that kind of fast charging. At least, I haven't seen. Have you seen that like on the phone? I haven't seen that. This has been around a long time, but these things still don't charge. In seconds or minutes, it's still,
it's the
hours
I think.
Sometimes.
I mean, cars tend to charge a lot faster than a phone will, right? Because of the robustness of those chargers built up there. Yeah, I think something with 2,000 miles of range, I can't even imagine what that would take to build out.
Well, I think we got a minute left in the auction.
Let's check in on the auction and see how we are doing. So we are still at $22,100, which is, I mean,
a bargain.
A bargain for a basically brand new 2022 Mini Cooper SE. Yeah, you only have a minute left, so get on over there and throw your bids into TFLbids.com. We've got our Mini Cooper SE up for auction, and it is ending very, very soon. So go ahead and place your bids.
And there's also a motorcycle up there now, I noticed.
Yeah. Oh, we just went up. We're up to 22,000. Oh, I'm sorry. No, 22,100. We haven't gotten any other bids yet. I apologize. Yeah. So right after this, we do have my personal Kawasaki KLR 650 going up for auction here.
That is the Model T of motorcycles.
It's like the original off-roading motorcycle.
It's the original, yeah. It's a dual sport.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the interesting thing about that is we are starting something new on TFLbids.com where we are offering trades. So if you have an interesting trade and you're looking for a 1999 Kawasaki KLR 650, now is the time, because that just went live just now, where you can submit your trade offers to me and I will take a look at it and maybe we can make something happen.
Yeah, there you go. Interesting. That's not something we've seen before.
Exactly.
So how about the Mini? Where are we at the Mini? Is it closed?
Yeah, so the Mini ended at the 22,100. So we will reach out to the high bidder, see if we can make something happen behind the scenes, but it didn't quite get up to the reserve, unfortunately.
Yeah, if the high bidder wants it, if you're watching this, we're certainly eager to sell it, but yeah, we're not going to fire sale it.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, for 21,000, you could take it to the dealership and easily get $5,000-$6,000 more, just as a hair, or you could probably get a lot more than that on even like Carvana if you tried.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So what's going on with the comments? Any other comments before we wrap this up?
Let's see if I've got any other interesting. One person says that they should have removable batteries in electric cars.
Yeah, they do it in China.
Do they?
Yeah, and they can actually do it in Norway too. There's a Chinese company that does hot swaps, where you pull into like a stall. It's like a Jiffy Lube kind of place. There's a computer that lines up your car, and while you sit there, it pulls it actually unscrews it, pulls the battery out, and a conveyor belt takes it away, and a conveyor belt puts a new one in, attaches it, and off you go.
Yeah.
It takes like 10 minutes.
That would be interesting, honestly.
Yeah, it would be interesting.
I mean, if we could do something like that where we don't have to build out the infrastructure and we don't have to drastically increase the range of electric vehicles, and we just make it so that you can easily swap out a empty battery pack with a full battery pack, that might even solve the issue. But I think they'd have to make them pretty much all the same across the board.
I think I'd be worried about that machine, like giving me a bad battery pack.
That's true.
Or somehow messing it up. I'm sure it doesn't.
Yeah.
But I kind of when I buy a car, I kind of take pride in ownership of the thing, and the battery pack is probably the most expensive thing in that car.
Yeah.
When you think about it, single component, and to be able to like, I'd feel weird about like, I don't know how somebody else used it, and I get it that it's a replaceable, swappable item, but still I feel a little weird about it.
So here's an interesting question. Someone asked, Daniel Real Tech asked, do you see gas or diesel having a purpose in 50 or 100 years once battery tech is better for heavy duty? And that's going to be long after most of us here are gone.
Yeah, for sure. Gas or diesel, is it going to go away? I don't know. That's a good question.
I think especially with semi trucks, that's going to be.
You think of like you watch like Star Wars or Star Trek. Doesn't feel like any of those vehicles are powered by diesel engines. They all feel like there's something else, be it gravity or sun.
You don't think warp drive they kicked in? They had to add the death fluid in there.
Yeah. I feel like that's probably going to go. Look, the problem with burning oil is that it's such a useful product to make plastic out of.
Yeah.
Right, and once you use it, it's gone. So then you're going to have to make plastic out of mushrooms or something. I don't know. It's going to be. Or go back in the landfills and dig out all the plastic that you threw away, and convert it back into some kind of a substance that you can use.
Right.
Because without plastic, we're going to be hurting. Whereas renewables, son, wind, solar, electricity are always going to be there, hopefully.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, thanks for tuning in. This has been a live chat between me and Roman. We haven't been able to do much of this, and it's been nice to get us talking here for a solid little over half hour. And thank you so much to all of you who joined us and gave us some of your interesting questions. We really appreciate it.
Yep.
All right.
As always, check out alltfl.com if you want to, see what we're up to, and we'll see you next time. Ciao.
All right. Bye.